United States and most European countries as well. What's the latest?
Well, this is interesting. Over the summer, of course, we've had Bilderberg, and I reported on the Ditchley Foundation, kind of a cousin of Trilateral and Trilateral and Bilderberg, excuse me. And there's so many machinations going on. Weaponized neuroscience has been in the news here on UKC recently. But I got to looking at the global cities thing, and a quick announcement before we get into the GPM, Global Parliament of Mayors, is that the seminal annual conference, the Pritzker Global Cities Forum in Chicago that started in 2015, 2016, and I was there right when it started, has been apparently ended. I think it just didn't go as viral as the former head of the Chicago Council on Global Affairs that was pushing it, Ivo Dalder, as he wanted. And that has apparently died. When the Chatham House lady who's leading the Chicago Council came over to replace Dalder, as I've reported recently, there's no indication that she's continuing that. So that's a little bit of good news, you might say, given what we know about global cities. Now, on the Global Parliament of Mayors here, they met earlier in the summer, and I discovered that as I was looking at all these other groups and trying to kind of distill all this. And their annual summit 2025, Ricardo Rio, the mayor of Braga, Portugal, was big in the news. He's a major player here, and we got a couple quotes from him. There was a recognition by the Global Parliament of Mayors about this gentleman's city. The Global Parliament of Mayors, or GPM, recognizes the path that Braga, Portugal, has been forging via its internationalization strategy, emphasis added, internationalization strategy, positioning Braga as a open collaborative city that means in league with the global system that engages with global networks, of course, and promotes democracy, big word, inclusion, bigger word, and sustainable development, massive concept, of course. And that ties to the United Nations. The United Nations turned 80 this year. And then Mayor Ricardo Rio of Braga went on to say, and he's a member of the executive committee of the Global Parliament of Mayors, he went on to say, these developments reflect our commitment to position Braga as an open and collaborative city, emphasis added, one that actively engages with global networks and actively promotes democracy, inclusion, etc. So this is very clear language of what global cities are all about, that they kind of divorce themselves to a point from the nation state that they geographically inhabit, and they link up with other self-declared global cities, and they operate on a somewhat different legal and governance system. So it's almost like a form of mutiny, if you will. Maybe that's a strong concept, maybe a little too strong, but they're kind of bowing out of their nation state membership and adopting another kind of membership, localized globalism, also called glocalism. We've mentioned that. Now, this also came out as I was perusing this on a, looks like an X post here. Nadia Vergi noted that there's a global Parliament of Mayors related summit going on the 27th through the 29th of October 2025 in Dubai that they're calling Expo City. And it's involving the Asia Pacific Cities Summit and Mayors Forum 2025, bringing together cities from Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and beyond. And we have a little bit more on this. We'll move on from there. And this is the actual website, the Asia Pacific Cities Summit and Mayors Forum. That's the main element at this new GPM involved or GPM tied Expo City Dubai event in latter October. So just to get that in the news here, to get that on the record as to that event's coming up, we didn't have a lot of advance notice about the summer event by the Global Parliament of Mayors. So we want to make sure we get plenty of advance news on this one, so we're all aware. Maybe we can talk about it in York a little bit on the side. But here's some of the other things they're talking about with regards to that Dubai summit. This is just some examples. We'll show this, and I'll just cherry pick it. City leadership and economic development, city branding and identity, city diplomacy, where cities set themselves up to have foreign policy functions and act like that they can get into foreign policy diplomacy, which is really illegitimate and improper for any city to get into. And then digital transformation and urban futures. They're looking at urban intelligence. That no doubt involves AI, probably in some ill-advised ways. New energy, mission-driven ecosystems. Some of this is clear, some of it's rather vague. Maybe not all of it bad, point by point. And in this last item, this is just a reminder of the Urban Seven. And the Urban Seven, I do have an article posted on UK Column about the Urban Seven from a year or two ago, and that is the city equivalent, roughly, of the G7. Showing how the cities view themselves as members of a global community, not so much members of their nation state. And the Urban Seven, at a meeting in Japan in July 2023, was consulted in the drafting of the G7 Sustainable Urban Development Ministers Communique, which lays out the priorities and commitments of the ministers. So that definitely shows the concrete and tangible involvement of these mayors, I think, in an ill-advised and illegitimate way to get involved in these global affairs. So that's kind of the landscape for now, guys, and the schedule.
Thank you, Mark. Well, sticking with cities in a sense,